Love Under Fire. The earthquake that shook the world. This prophecy was fulfilled in 1755 in the most terrible earthquake ever recorded. Known as the Lisbon earthquake, it reached to Europe, Africa, and America. People felt it in Greenland, the West Indies, Madeira, Norway, and Sweden, Great Britain, and Ireland. It covered an area of at least 4 million square miles. In Africa, the shock was almost as severe as in Europe. A major part of Algiers was destroyed. A huge wave swept over the coast of Spain and Africa, engulfing cities. Mountains, some of the largest in Portugal, were suddenly shaken, it seemed, from their very foundations, and some of them opened at their peaks, which were split and torn in an astonishing way, huge sections of them being thrown down into the nearby valleys. Some people say they saw flames coming from these mountains. At Lisbon there was a sound of thunder underground, and immediately afterwards a violent quake threw down most of that city. In only about 6 minutes, 60,000 people died. The sea first drew back and left the sandbar dry. Then it rolled in, rising 50 feet or more above its usual level. The earthquake happened on a holy day, when the churches and convents were full of people. Very few of them escaped. The terror of the people were indescribable. No one wept. It was beyond tears. They ran here and there, frantic with horror and astonishment, beating their faces on chests, crying, "Mercy, the world's at an end." Mothers forgot their children and ran around loaded with crucifixed images. Unfortunately, many ran to the churches for protection. Uselessly, they sought to be near the bread and wine. In vain did the poor creatures embrace the altars. Images, priests, and people were buried in one common ruin. Darkening of the sun and moon. 25 years later, the next sign appeared that was mentioned in the prophecy, the darkening of the sun and moon. In conversation with his disciples on the Mount of Olives, Jesus had clearly pointed out the time for this prophecy's fulfillment. In those days, after that tribulation, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light. The 1,260 days or years ended in 1798. A quarter of a century earlier, persecution had almost completely died out. Following this persecution, the sun would be darkened. On May 19, 1780, this prophecy was fulfilled. An eyewitness in Massachusetts described the event this way. A heavy black cloud spread over the entire sky except a narrow rim at the horizon, and it was as dark as it usually is at 9 o'clock on a summer evening. Fear, anxiety, and awe gradually filled the minds of the people. Women stood at the door, looking out at the dark landscape. Men returned from their work in the fields. The carpenter left his tools, the blacksmith his shop, the tradesman his counter. Schools were dismissed, and the children ran home in fear. Travelers asked for shelter at the nearest farmhouse. "What is coming?" was the question on every lip and heart. It seemed as if a hurricane was about to sweep across the land, or as if it was the judgment day, the end of all things. People lit candles, and hearth fires glowed as brightly as they do on a moonless evening in autumn. Birds flew to their roosts and went to sleep. Cattle gathered at the pasture gates and lowed. Frogs peeped. Birds sang their evening songs, and bats flew around, but the human knew that night had not come. Congregations came together in many places. The texts for the impromptu sermons consistently were those that seemed to show that the darkness fulfilled Bible prophecy. The darkness was the deepest shortly after 11 o'clock. In most parts of the country, it was so dark in the daytime that the people could not tell what time it was by either watch or clock, nor eat, nor manage their home duties without the light of candles.